Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're plunging right into something we all deal with, home plumbing.
Yeah.
Sinks, showers, toilets, they're essential.
Absolutely essential every single day.
But how much do we really know about what's going on behind the walls or under the floors?
Yeah.
Sometimes that common sense fix was based more on myth than reality.
And those myths, those little things you think are harmless, they can seriously backfire. We're talking frustrating, messy, and often pretty expensive problems.
Exactly. So we've looked at some sources that really peel back the layers on these common plumbing misconceptions.
Yeah.
We even have insights from a professional plumbing service perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission today, to unpack what you thought you knew about your home's water systems. We want to reveal some, frankly, surprising truths. Think of it as a shortcut to plumbing peace of mind.
Definitely. Because the sources are clear. A seemingly simple action, if it's based on one of these myths, can snowball into something really complicated and damaging.
Okay, let's get into it. We all use our drains constantly, right? Seems straightforward.
It does. You rinse something off, water goes down, end of story, or so you think.
But these sources really highlight how relying on those quick fixes you've heard about, maybe from family or just, general knowledge, it can cause some serious unintended consequences.
That is the trap, isn't it? You think you're doing something easy, maybe saving a buck,
Yeah.
but you might actually be creating a much bigger headache for yourself later on.
Okay, let's tackle a big one first. Something lots of people reach for when that kitchen sink starts backing up. Myth number 1. Liquid drain cleaner is always good, totally harmless.
Oh yeah, the go-to. The belief is simple. Drain slow, grab that bottle, pour it down, problem solved, like instantly, minimum effort.
Seems convenient. But the reality, well, according to the sources we looked at, it's a lot more complicated and honestly a bit concerning.
It is, because these aren't gentle soaps we're talking about. They are powerful, corrosive chemicals, often strong acids or lye.
Right, I've seen those warnings on the bottles.
And when they hit whatever is blocking the pipe, they react. They generate heat.
Okay, so corrosive chemicals plus heat. What does that actually do to the clog in the pipe?
Well, that's the crucial point.
Yeah.
They often don't fully remove the clog. They might just burn a small channel through it.
So temporary relief at best.
Very temporary, usually. But the bigger issue, the one that sources really stress, is the damage to the pipes themselves. Over time, these chemicals literally corrode the pipe material.
Wow, even modern pipes.
Yeah, especially older types like cast iron or galvanized steel, they take a real beating. But even PVC, the plastic pipes, the chemicals can attack the glued connections, weakening them.
Leading to leaks.
Exactly, leaks, cracks, and eventually potentially needing to replace whole sections of pipe, which is not cheap.
And that's not even mentioning the immediate safety risks the sources point out, right? The fumes, the potential for chemical burns.
Absolutely. Nasty stuff you don't want splashed around. Not safe for you, not safe for the environment either, really.
So what's the professional alternative then? Based on the sources, how do plumbers actually deal with clogs?
They typically use physical methods. Think tools like drain snakes or augers. These physically break up the clog or allow the plumber to pull the blockage out completely. It removes the problem, doesn't just poke a hole in it.
And for a really thorough job, I saw something mentioned called hydrojetting.
Ah, yes. Hydrojetting is pretty impressive. It uses high-pressure water streams to basically scour the entire inner surface of the pipe.
So it doesn't just clear the blockage, it cleans the pipe walls.
Precisely. It removes grease buildup, scale, roots, whatever is clinging to the walls. One source mentioned it being part of a kitchen sink revitalizer package. Gets things flowing like new.
Okay. And what about preventing clogs in the first place, besides, being careful?
The sources also mentioned preventative maintenance. Using something like KNC Bacterial Drain Treatment was suggested.
Bacterial. How does that work?
It uses beneficial bacteria, enzymes basically, to naturally break down organic waste like grease and food particles that accumulate in pipes. It's described as safe, eco-friendly, and effective for keeping things clear without damaging the pipes.
Got it. So the big takeaway on myth #1 for you listening, grabbing that bottle of chemical drain cleaner might seem like an easy fix.
But it's really just a temporary Band-Aid that actively harms your plumbing system over time. It can end up costing you way more in the long run compared to getting it professionally and thoroughly cleaned.
It's that short-term gain, long-term pain scenario.
Exactly, like patching a leak with something that makes the hole bigger later.
Well, let's move on. Myth #2. This one involves the kitchen sink again, specifically grease. The belief. Pouring hot water down the drain melts grease and washes it away safely.
Oh, this is a classic. Finish cooking something greasy, run the hot tap full blast while you pour the grease down. Feels like you're dissolving it, right?
It does feel logical.
Yeah.
Heat melts fat. So what's the catch? What do the sources say happens next?
The catch is that hot water doesn't stay hot for long once it goes down the drain. As it travels further down the pipes, maybe under the house or out towards the sewer line, the pipes are cooler, the water cools down.
And when the water cools?
The grease solidifies again. Simple physics.
Oh no. So where does it solidify?
Right there on the inside walls of your pipes, it starts coating the pipes. And the sources explain this solidified grease is sticky.
Like a trap.
Exactly like a trap. It acts like glue, grabbing onto food particles, soap scum, hair, anything else going down, layer upon layer, builds up.
Creating those infamous fatbergs.
That's the term. The sources specifically mention fatbergs, these massive congealed lumps of fats, oils, grease, FOG, as it's known, mixed with other debris. They become incredibly dense and hard to remove.
And it's not just a problem for your house, is it?
No, the sources note this contributes significantly to problems in the wider municipal sewer systems, too. Cities spend a fortune dealing with FOG blockages caused by everyone doing this.
Okay, so if pouring it down, even with hot water, is a bad idea, what is the right way to dispose of cooking grease, according to these sources?
It's actually really simple. Pour the liquid grease into a disposable container, an old coffee can, a jar, whatever.
Let it cool.
Let it cool completely, solidify. Then just scoop the solid grease into your regular trash bin. That's it. Easy. Doesn't touch your pipes.
Makes sense. And if you suspect you've maybe not been following that advice in the past?
Well, that hydrojetting we talked about, the sources emphasize it's particularly good at blasting away that kind of hardened grease buildup. That kitchen sink revitalizer package likely targets exactly this problem.
And I guess that bacterial drain treatment could help with ongoing maintenance too.
Yeah, it can help break down residual organic matter that might otherwise stick to any remaining grease film, sort of keeping things cleaner over time.
So for you at home, believing that hot water washes grease away, it means you're actively contributing to building tough blockages in your own pipes and potentially the city's sewers.
It really is a prime example of how a small, seemingly innocent habit can lead directly to a big, costly plumbing headache. Prevention here is definitely key.
All right, let's move from sinks to the toilet. Myth number 3. All toilet flushes are basically the same. If it fits down the hole, it's okay to flush.
Ah, yes. The out of sight, out of mind approach to toilet flushing.
Seems obvious for, like, kids' toys.
Yeah,
But it gets tricky with things that seem like they should be okay, especially certain paper products.
exactly. The common thinking is, if it disappears when I push the handle, it's gone. No problem. And the sources make a huge point about flushable wipes here.
Okay, let's talk about those. The packaging literally says flushable. So what's the real story?
This is where the sources are really, really clear. Despite the label, these wipes do not break down in water the way toilet paper does. It's a fundamental difference in material.
How so?
Toilet paper is engineered to disintegrate very quickly when wet. Wipes, on the other hand, are designed to be strong, to hold together even when soaked. They're often made with synthetic fibers or plastics.
So they don't dissolve.
Not really, no. They might go down the toilet bowl, but once they're in the pipes, they just tumble around, they snag on imperfections in the pipes, they tangle together, and they accumulate.
Forming clogs.
Massive clogs. The sources explicitly state that flushable wipes are a leading cause of serious blockages, both in individual homes and in municipal sewer systems. They're a nightmare for wastewater treatment plants, too.
Wow. So despite the name, definitely not actually flushable in a way that's safe for plumbing.
Not at all. And the sources list a whole bunch of other common items that should never be flushed. We're talking paper towels, facial tissues.
Even tissues, they seem similar to toilet paper.
They seem similar, but like wipes, they're designed to hold up better when wet. Think about blowing your nose. You don't want it disintegrating instantly. That strength makes them bad for pipes.
Okay, what else is on the no flush list?
Dental floss, it's like string, wraps around everything, cotton balls, cotton swabs. Feminine hygiene products, they're absorbent, designed to expand. Medication contaminates the water supply. Cat litter, it's designed to clump. Hair, food scraps, none of it belongs in the toilet.
So the rule is basically,
Toilet paper and human waste only. That's the mantra the sources advocate. Stick to that, and you avoid most problems.
and there's another factor here too, right? Something about modern toilets.
Yes, the sources add that context. Modern low-flow toilets are great for water conservation, which is important,
But
but they achieve that efficiency by using less water per flush. That means they have less flushing power, less force to push things through the pipes compared to older water-guzzling models.
so they're more easily overwhelmed if you flush the wrong stuff.
Exactly. They're less forgiving. Flushing anything other than the TP and waste combo is much more likely to cause a clog in a low-flow toilet. It's not a flaw in the toilet, it's just a consequence of using less water.
Okay, so the number one solution here is prevention through education, right? Making sure everyone using the toilet knows the rules.
Absolutely. That's the first line of defense. But, if problems persist, maybe from past habits or someone unknowingly flushing the wrong thing,
Then you need professional help.
then you likely need professional clog removal. The sources we looked at, like the info about KNC Plumbing, indicate they're equipped to handle these toilet blockages properly. They also mention that if the toilet itself seems to be a recurring issue, they can service it or even recommend it install a more suitable, efficient model if needed.
Right. So the takeaway for you listening on this myth, thinking if it fits, it flushes, or trusting that flushable wipe label, well, it's a direct route to backups, overflows, maybe even water damage.
And definitely an unpleasant, potentially expensive emergency call to a plumber. Sticking to the simple rule saves a whole lot of grief. It really just boils down to respecting what your plumbing system is designed to handle.
Okay, so pulling all these threads together, it's incredibly clear. Those things that seem like easy plumbing shortcuts or just innocent habits based on what everyone thinks is true.
They can actually create much bigger, more complicated, and definitely more expensive problems down the road.
And this is where the alternative comes in, which the sources also detail, relying on reliable expert plumbing service.
Exactly. The sources give quite a bit of information about a service like KNC Plumbing, for example, and the range of solutions they offer. It's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, those look like they cover the gamut. Basic repairs, ongoing maintenance, but also bigger things like water heater services, both the traditional tanks and the tankless ones.
Mm-hmm. And obviously drain cleaning, which we've talked a lot about, including that hydrojetting capability.
They also mention water filtration systems being certified installers for specific brands like KNC Water Systems Clarity and Opus units, and even smart home stuff like Moen Flow installations for leak detection.
Yeah, it's a broad range. And the sources highlighted their credentials too, licensed, bonded, insured. Over 30 years of hands-on experience mentioned.
And they serve specific areas, right? Lakewood, Long Beach, Cerritos, Bellflower, Downey, and sort of surrounding cities in LA and Orange County.
That's what was listed. And a key thing that stood out from the sources was their approach to pricing. They emphasize clear, upfront pricing before starting work.
That's huge for peace of mind. No surprises on the bill.
Absolutely. Plus, they back their work. Warranties on services and even specific product warranties were mentioned, like a lifetime warranty on cartridges for Wolverine brass faucets they install, with no labor charge for repairs on that specific part.
That level of transparency and standing behind their work says a lot. Getting in touch seemed easy too. Website, some kind of portal, call, text, email. Lots of options.
Yeah, they seem accessible. They also mentioned service plans, which might offer discounts for regular maintenance customers. And while they aren't a 24/7 emergency service, they do prioritize urgent calls during their business hours.
So the overall value proposition coming through the sources seems to be,
It's that choosing professional practices, using preventative measures correctly, and relying on experienced services like this one ultimately saves you money, stress, and just the sheer hassle of dealing with plumbing disasters caused by falling for these common myths.
right, prevention based on facts and proper solutions when needed are the real keys.
It ensures your plumbing system stays healthy and doesn't give you those nasty surprises.
So wrapping up this deep dive, the main takeaway is pretty stark, isn't it? Those easy fixes, those common beliefs about plumbing you might have held on to.
They could actually be causing slow, hidden damage. Understanding the reality behind myths about drain cleaners, grease disposal, what you can flush, it really empowers you.
It empowers you to avoid future headaches, those unexpected repair costs, and just messy situations in general.
Absolutely. Gaining this knowledge about how your plumbing actually works, what its limits are, it genuinely provides peace of mind about these systems you depend on constantly.
Definitely. So here's a final thought to chew on, building on what we've discussed. How much do we really understand about the complex systems running inside our homes every day?
Good question.
Not just plumbing, but maybe electrical, heating and cooling, even the structure itself. Are there other areas where we might be operating based on common knowledge or myths?
That could be slowly creating hidden problems we haven't even noticed yet. It's worth thinking about.
It really is.
And if listening today made you suspect you've fallen for one of these plumbing myths, well, now you know the reality, and you know the kinds of professional, effective solutions that actually work and protect your home.